Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jeffrey Epstein Show. I'm your host, Bobbycapucci, and this is a morning update. Last night we were talking about Prince Andrew, Jeffrey Epstein, and the Neurosurgeon. Well, all the way back in November, there was another article that came out that was talking about this same situation. We covered this article and this story back in November, but in light of this new article coming out last night, I thought it would be prudent to revisit this. I thought it would be prudent to come on this morning and add a little bit more context. Because we heard a little bit about who she was last night and the fact that, she was palling around with Prince Andrew, but we really didn't get too deep into the story, right? A scratch of the surface, just kind of a little peek behind the curtain. Well, this article is going to go a little bit deeper than that. This article actually has a witness who saw them together at Zorro Ranch. Now, if you remember, during my Zorro Ranch reports, I talked about how Prince Andrew was at Zorro Ranch, how people had confirmed it. And Prince Andrew, obviously, has never talked about that, or, he's not going to come out and say he was there or anything like that. But it's on record that he was there, and it's confirmed by multiple people. So we're going to go back and we're going to read this article, and we're going to add a little context to what we talked about last night. So this article is from The Sun, and the headline, Royal Visit. Prince Andrew was given young neurosurgeon by Jeffrey Epstein during Mexico Ranch visit, says former housekeeper. This article was written by Matt Coyle, and it was published on November 21st, 2019. An ex-employee at Epstein's sprawling ranch in New Mexico has made bombshell allegations that the under-fire Duke spent 3 days at the estate with the beautiful medic. And now we know who they were talking about. We know who the neurosurgeon was now after yesterday's article. The pieces fall into place. And like I've stated numerous times, it's important to add this stuff to the catalog. It's important to make sure that we add context whenever we can. That way the story is right there for all of us to see. That way we don't have to chase it down. That way we don't have to rely on other people putting the pieces together for us. We do that right here on the podcast every single day with these articles. Deirdre Stratton was a housekeeper at the Zorro Ranch when she claims Andrew visited alone in 2001 and says the young woman was paid by Epstein. So, again, what exactly was going on between the two? We heard from her last night saying that they were just friends and he called her nerdy and smarty pants and all sorts of other weird shit. But what's the real story with those two? What were they? How close were they really? And what does she know about Jeffrey Epstein's criminal enterprise? Again, these are all the kind of people that are in the outside of the atmosphere, the people that aren't wrapped up in the case, like the Core Four or Ghislaine or Jean-Luc Brunel, etc., etc. But there are so many people like this lady who are on the peripherals, and they don't get nowhere near the media talk that they should, because they hold answers. They hold answers to what went on here. They have the answers, and they need to be spoken to by the authorities. The fact that these people aren't wrapped up and caught up and slammed with RICO charges, it's mind-boggling to me. I know I talk about the RICO stuff so much on the podcast, but it's that important. It's so important that it has to be driven home on every single topic we talk about when it comes up, because these people, they're going to get away with this if we don't use every single trick in our arsenal at a federal level. Stratton alleges that during the visit, Andrew was kept company by an unnamed female doctor who she believes may have been on retainer from Epstein, and that it was her job to entertain his guests, but that she was only guessing. Well, we know that she was on retainer. We know that Jeffrey Epstein was paying her to be his science advisor. So we know that that's definitely factual. And that she was hired to entertain his guests, well, we don't know about any of that. I won't speculate on that. I don't know about other guests, but we definitely know for sure 100%, not only from this witness, but from the neurosurgeon herself, that her and Jeffrey Epstein had a relationship, and she knew Prince Andrew. The bombshell claims come after the Queen hauled her son to Buckingham Palace to sack him from all royal duties. Her Majesty's extraordinary intervention came after intense lobbying from Prince Charles. Well, we know that's BS as of now, right? We know that he really wasn't sacked. I mean, he was told to be put on the back burner, and he's not going to be the face of the family or anything like that. But we know that he is still a part of the royal family, and we also know the Queen hasn't disowned him or anything like that. The Duke of York under fire after claims he bedded a 17-year-old and for his friendship with billionaire U.S. pedophile Jeffrey Epstein, will conduct no royal or public duties and will step back from all patronages. He has also pledged to cooperate with authorities investigating Epstein, opening him up to serious criminal risk. Again, we know he's a liar. Prince Andrew is a pathological liar, an absolute scoundrel, and a poor excuse for a man. It was a drastic decision for the Queen because Prince Andrew is her favorite son, and he is unlikely to return to a frontline royal role. Despite Stratton's claims, there is no suggestion that Andrew knew she was possibly on Epstein's payroll. We know that's incorrect now. We know that is incorrect now because we talked to Melanie Wilson. Not us personally, but we heard from Melanie Wilson in the article last night, where she came out and she said, yeah, I was palling around with Andrew. He had a bunch of pet names for me, etc., etc. And they were introduced by Epstein. So you see, again, we would have forgotten about this, right? This is one of those things, it's on the peripherals, it's not something that is, hammered into our brains, and it's something that if we didn't catalog it, and we didn't talk about it, and we didn't go through all of these articles, we could have easily missed it, and not understood the context behind what we talked about last night. So, that's why it's important when articles like this come out, that we jump on them, and we add it to the catalog, and we add the context to the story. Because it's so important. It is so important to have the proper context to make sure that you're not chasing ghosts and you're not chasing shadows. The former housekeeper added, at the time Jeffrey had this, she supposedly was a neurosurgeon, quite young, beautiful, young and brilliant, and she stayed in the home with him. At one point, we had all these different teas, and you could pick the teas that you wanted, and she asked me how to find one that would make Andrew horny. And again, folks, this is coming from an eyewitness. This is coming from someone who worked at Zorro Ranch. This is somebody who worked for Epstein. And this is somebody who knows that Prince Andrew was there with the neurosurgeon. I'm guessing she understood her job was to entertain him because I guess the fear would be that Andrew would say, no, I didn't really find her that attractive. He would tell Jeffrey that, and then she would be on the ropes. Well, I'm not too sure about that situation there. I don't know if Melanie Walker was one of the girls that was being trafficked per se, or if she was just introduced to Andrew. We haven't gotten that deep yet, right? And according to her, what we heard from her, she was, brought on as somebody that Jeffrey Epstein invested in. So I'm not too sure about the angle of her being trafficked by Epstein in that regard, but we definitely know for a fact that she was hanging out with Prince Andrew. That's a fact. I will go, I'm not too sure again about the trafficking angle when it comes to Melanie Walker here, but I will say this, there is zero doubt that she was palling around with Prince Andrew, and there is zero doubt that they were together at Zorro Ranch. Stratton said, I'm guessing that another theory is that Jeffrey had her on retainer and she knew what her job should be to make these people happy. That is a fact. She was on retainer. Now, she was on retainer as an advisor, but who knows what those jobs entailed when you were working for Jeffrey Epstein. We understand that there were many things going on behind closed doors that these women were involved in that still hasn't seen the light of day. So who knows what Melanie Walker's job was? Sex was all they thought about. I mean, I know for sure that Jeffrey would ideally like 3 massages a day. Again, we're hearing from an eyewitness who worked at his property about the massages and the 3 of them a day. What this is, folks, this is establishing a pattern. This is evidence in abundance. Yet Berman and the rest of his buddies dragging their feet, no big deal, having their coffee, busy with whatever the hell else they're busy with. Meanwhile, the whole entire world sees the evidence laid out bare before them, and the whole world is asking, where's the justice? Massages being in air quotes. I don't see how his guests wouldn't know that. She also gave an anecdote of the Duke insisting on making himself breakfast, but burning his bacon and settling instead for croissants and green tea. That's fitting, right? A guy like Prince Andrew, he's never cooked himself anything at home. He has slaves and indentured servants and the whole nine. Okay, obviously not slaves or indentured servants, but you get the drift, right? They might as well be. They're working for these royals, and they're doing whatever the royals want, and from all accounts, Andrew was a prick. So he wasn't cooking his own food, and the guy can't even, obviously he's so inept, he can't even cook bacon without burning it. She went on, when I got up there later to tidy up, you could smell burnt bacon, and he was like, I didn't do so well. Well, that's just, the whole arc of your life. You haven't done so well, Prince Andrew, all right? You're an absolute disgrace to your family. You're certainly a disgrace to the great people of England. And as far as people who think that they're more important than they are, oh, you're right at the top of that list, sir. He had like a croissant and green tea or something. I remember him trying to cook his own breakfast. Isn't that cute? He couldn't even fry bacon. That's how inept these people are, folks. Remember that. Remember when they're talking down to the rest of us. Or remember when you look up at them and you say, man, they're such great people because of their rich or because of their status. Just remember that Prince Andrew doesn't even know how to cook his own bacon. Stratton said Andrew stayed in a 3-bedroom lodge at the ranch during his stay. There is no suggestion that the woman Andrew allegedly spent time with was underage. That is correct. She was not underage at the time. Now that we know who she is, we know that she was not underage at the time. We know that for a fact she was on retainer. We do not know the trafficking angle. I won't speculate there. I don't do that unless I have some evidence. And if I do that, I'll preface it with, hey, this is my opinion. So we have established some important information here, and we've established some important facts. That's why I just reread this article today. That's why we went over this one more time, because it added on to what we talked about last night, and considering the news being so light in the Jeffrey Epstein case, it's very important that we add another layer when we can. And I'm going to continue to do that, especially while the Epstein news cycle is not as active as it has been. So you can expect more articles like this. We'll revisit some articles maybe, add to them with the stuff that we have learned moving forward, and we're just going to keep on pumping stuff out here. We're going to keep pumping content out. Even if the mainstream legacy media decides to stop writing about this, then we'll start talking about other things as opposed to newer articles. We'll continue to read the older articles. We'll continue to add context. There's plenty of avenues to travel. And there are many ways to get to the finish line. And that's what we're going to do. I'm more than willing to adapt as things move along, just as I have throughout this whole entire case. But one thing we're not going to do is lose sight of focus. We're not going to stop chasing for justice, and we're not going to stop seeking answers. Because at the end of the day, this is such a travesty of justice. This is such a black eye, not only to the Justice Department and the justice system, but to the whole entire country and to the whole entire world as a whole. And these survivors who have battled tooth and nail to get to where they are right now, with everything in their souls, well, one thing that they can count on is that here on this podcast, we are not going anywhere. We stand here, we stand tall right beside them as they pursue justice. Remember, folks, this year, 2020, this is the year that the predators turn into the prey. All right, everybody. If you'd like to contact me, you can do that at bobbycapucci@protonmail.com. That's bobbycapucci@protonmail.com. And if you would like to contact me or follow me on Twitter, which you should definitely be doing, you can find me there at BOBBY_CAPUCCI. All right, everybody. I will be back later on tonight with the Daily Drop. Hope you all have a fantastic day.